Hello, one and all, and welcome to the September 29th, 2023 full moon crystal grid build. This is the harvest or mating moon, depending on culture. And this one's message is the reflections of the master healers. We are taking in and kind of learning a little bit about change and understanding that things aren't just one, but can be multiple all at the same time. And without further ado, let's start by calling in our directions. Let's get this little ceremony and ritual on the way. Start with the east, to the wind, to the endless search of knowledge, all the things that fly in the air, of freedom in movement and unhindered flow, that the creativity and seeking that lives within each of us, of all those new beginnings that come before us, that all we need to do is take those first steps. Let our wings unfold and fly. And we welcome you in. Then to the south, to fire, to passion and warmth, that spark that helps us go, that fuel that keeps us burning, that light that guides our way. We welcome you in. And to the west, to the earth, to the ground beneath our feet, to the endless abundance of nature, to all the creatures great and small, to everything who has been here before us, all that is here now, and all that is yet to be, to the ancestors of old. We welcome you in. To the north, to the waters, to the endless shaping of emotion, the deep unknowing wisdoms as deep as the ocean, to all the creatures that live in, on, and around the water, to all the things unknown deep beneath its surface, and all the things we can see in the clear, crisp waters. We welcome you in. To Mother Earth, the provider, the nurturer, the bringer of us all. Guide us, lead us, and keep us protected as we move into these new energies. To the great Father in the sky, the source of all life and light, knowledge, wisdom, all that is, was, will be, and never will. We call and beckon you in. And lastly, to the here and now, for there is no past, there is no future, there is only this present moment, what's happening in this moment. Everything that we have to gain and learn happening right now. Thank you. We welcome you in. All right. So, with what we've got going on right now, as I said, this is reflections of the master healers. We are going to be working with a lot of quartz-based minerals. And because it's clear, it's directed, it has purpose. It can be programmed unless, well, it can always be programmed, but these variations with their inclusions make it so they have a purpose. Even though they are still programmable, there's something that they are better meant to do. And at the same time, they're not just that one thing. Starting with, we're going to talk a little bit about amethyst. Now, we're all familiar with amethyst, the lovely purple color and hue, the typical nice points that it can have, all this lovely candling. Amethyst is a promoter of the love of the divine, not the love of divine itself. It encourages selflessness and spiritual wisdom, great for meditation and opening one up to multidimensional awareness. Helps protect against psychic attack, transmuting it into love. Quelling indulgences and addictions. It's calming and sedates the mind as needed. And amethyst is great for that upper energy, that the higher chakras, the helping to like calm that busy, worried mind, to ease a lot of that dysfunctionality that comes within our souls. If we're one who goes to substance to relax and calm down, amethyst helps to take that away. And as you can also see, amethyst can come in varying shapes and sizes, and even in coloration, where this has a little bit of that dark smoky color, which is what we're going to come to a little bit later. Next, we're shifting over to another common one, which is citrine. And citrine is a good solar plexus stone. It's yellowish in color, it's hard to find ones of this clarity and this crispness. They're usually a little bit more faded and cloudy like this. Sometimes you can find them like this, but this is actually a heat-treated amethyst, which again, we're going to get into a little bit later. But citrine in itself is also a master healer, cleanses and re-energizes the aura. It carries the power of the sun, which helps it to not really need cleansing because it cleanses itself. It absorbs, transmutes, and grounds negative energy. It attracts abundance and encourages joy, and may stimulate overactivity. So if you're a very hyper person, citrine might be a little much for you. And we're going to talk about where these things kind of blend into the others, because as you can see here, this one is a little bit darker in color, again with the lovely candling and everything going on. But that darkness, that little bit of smokiness, changes that vibrational frequency of the citrine itself, making it more grounding, more protective. Whereas like this, it's just going to kind of fuel and energize and empower. And speaking of that smokiness, we're jumping right over into Smokey Quartz. Again, we're all familiar with this. It's the black, dark stone. It's a black quartz. It's grounding, detoxifying, promotes calm, and neutralizes negative energies. It improves psychic and mental resistance. So anytime Smokey Quartz shows up, it's helping to ground and protect. So you take that in, you add that into the citrine, and now that citrine is more grounded, it's more stable, it's less likely to knock you off guard. And also this helps to protect against those unwanted like attachments that when you overshine your light, you tend to attract, moths and flies and all the unwanted insects and critters and leeches, where when you throw a little bit of smoky into there, it takes that attractive quality and kind of diminishes it. Whereas you add the smokiness into Amethyst, it takes all those higher spiritual energies that can potentially send somebody into being kind of airheaded and just up into the clouds per se, and grounds that down. It brings it to the ground, it stabilizes that energy, and makes it a little bit more realistic. And this is actually a little bit better to help alleviate the addiction symptoms you might be going through, because it's calming that and grounding that energy down instead of just, calming it so that it's just there. But then, you ever see an anxious kid on like their Ritalin? So it's like they're there, but not really doing anything. So it's just not being productive. It's just sitting around. So when that, that medication wears off, that assistance is no longer there, it goes right back into being what it was. Whereas if you ground that energy, instead of just sedating it, it becomes functional. It can actually do things while it's calmed down. And then we're going to do a little shift and talk a little bit here about spirit quartz, which is going to kind of help to tie things together. It's going to be at the center of the grid here. And spirit quartz is just a typical clear quartz or amethyst or citrine. As you can see, this is all three, that has a druzy coating around the outside. This outer coating allows this stone to vibrate at a much higher frequency than a typical quartz. But then that central column, as you can see in all of these, helps to direct and focus that energy. It helps to induce a trance state, smoothing transformation from alpha into, smoothing the transfer from alpha to beta brainwaves. When used with other stones, it helps to cleanse the energy and transmuting it into a more healing or stable configuration, which when working with master healers, when you put them all together, they can get a little touchy, a little overpowering at times. So you throw something in, especially since these have a little bit of all those different elements in there that have changed it, and it's helping to keep that energy flowing and more positive. Before I forget, we're going to shift a little bit back over to that combination, and we're going to look at ametrine, which is amethyst and citrine together. And a lot of people don't know that the difference between amethyst and citrine is that citrine went under heat. It got really hot in comparison to amethyst. And so finding it in little clusters like this means that where the amethyst is, those were cooler pockets, whereas the citrine was hotter. And like a lot of times that citrine effect is on the inside, because as it was first forming, it was really, really hot, and then it cooled quickly, shifting that over into the more purplish hue. And I believe that impurity inclusion that does that is iron with a little bit of manganese, I believe. And what ametrine does is it helps us to make decisions and overcome personal resistance and procrastination. It assists in emotional balancing and meditation, helps to release negative energy and attachments from the aura, and helps with transition and change, which amethyst by itself doesn't really do any of that transitional releasing, it just kind of calms and protects. Where citrine by itself doesn't really calm and balance anything, it empowers, energizes, and removes. So you put those two together, it's like, okay, we're getting rid of distractions, putting in focus, and now we're able to actually achieve and move and function. And then can't really talk about reflections and looking into things without talking about moonstone. Because moonstone is very reflective. It helps teach us that all things are cycles. As we're going to see with all these variations in the colors, is like they're all very similar to the same stone, going through different cycles within their formation. Like sometimes that smoky amethyst was created not from carbon inclusions, but from becoming irradiated during its formation, which will put like striations and stuff onto the outside instead of it being an inclusion on the inside. This is also very a passive receptive energy, very feminine and soft. It opens the mind to impulsiveness as well as serendipity and synchronicity. So this will help us see what's like, oh, this is an impulsive decision I may or may not want to make, or these things fall into more synchronistic possibilities. But you really don't know those things until you're in the moment, and without any kind of guidance from these master healers, we're just going to kind of go with that flow, be like, oh, let's do this, oh, let's do that. So, and now without any kind of further ado, we're going to come in and start putting everything together. So I feel it's good to start with the ground, start with something at our feet, keeping us stable. And then we're going to put citrine into this forefront. And with something that's going to be happening, because all quartz tend to have a directed focus because they're in points. It's going to start by going out, because with lunar cycles on full moons, you're sending out, you're releasing, you're letting go. And then when the new moon comes around, which is actually going to be an eclipse this year, I can actually take, and we're going to flip that energy around, send it inward, take in all of this change and new focus and new energy, and pull it back in after we've gone through and cleansed ourselves out. We're going to put amethyst over here. Just a little bit longer. So let me get it fine down below. And this energy coming in from last month, where we were doing a lot of very intense kind of energy. Things are being pulled in very strong. We were sending out a call to others around us, sending out that message of, hey, here I am. I've got something to say and something to do. How you like me now? And we're going to kind of be seeing how much well that's going to translate back in as we bring it back to us. This is going to be a fairly interesting cycle, because not everything, as I've said, is always is what it seems. And we've kind of gotten lost over the years and get too focused on it's like, oh, it's got to be high vibe. Oh, I have to ground myself. Oh, I need to follow my joy and my passion. And we separate them instead of uniting them, which doesn't really do us any good, you know? We, instead of pulling apart these energies, it's like we need to remember how they're so close to each other, so similar, and that we wouldn't be where we are without any of it. Very clearly here, you got the Smokies going into the citrine here, having it fade from darker into light. Because that's really what it all is just one step, one shade, one little minor nuance that's different. It's like we get taught to fear the darkness instead of embracing it, which is kind of something Smokey Quartz helps us to do. And we could use a bit more of that in our lives, is a little bit of that change. Because not everything is as it seems. Darkness always leads into the light. For you can't have the darkness without the light. A lot of people tend to not care for or like how a lot of citrine gets mislabeled, like this stuff isn't real citrine, it's heat treated. When it's like in reality, they're still the same thing, you know? Like, we wouldn't have any of this without, like, you wouldn't have citrine without amethyst. Just because there's a little heat involved doesn't diminish the fact that, oh, what is light? Is light cold or is light hot? Because guess what? It can be both. Let's see, do I got any more of these? Okay. We're gonna just do a little shimmer bob. Yeah, as we saw with amethyst and citrine, they help to bring energy to that calmness. And it's like when you add heat, it's like, what are you doing? You're adding energy. So it's like it all kind of makes sense. So it's like this is just going to be a big old cycle coming through because, yeah, it's like you have this calmness now, this relaxation, this peace of mind. And a lot of times when we hit that, we have the tendency to just sit there or let it like pull us out of our body so that we're not really connected anymore. We're just kind of floating around in liminal space. And sometimes that's okay, but a lot of times that doesn't do us any good. It just keeps the cycle perpetuating itself. And as kind of said before with that, like, oh, I'm just going to sit here in it. Sometimes you kind of have to. And there's nothing wrong with that. But as being aware of that's what's going on right now. And something kind of amusing is when I acquired these amethysts, they were actually labeled as Smokey Quartz. Because unless you have the right angle and brightness of light hitting it, these look black. Like black as night. But they're not. They're purple. They're lovely. And amethyst is one of those stones that when we look at it, we always just kind of get distracted by its purple and that hue, but then don't look at, the differences. Or when we do look at the differences, we're like, oh, this makes this super special and all of that. But in reality, what we're seeing are just transitions. Like with this is a chevron amethyst because you have these white striation lines. And what that's really saying is during this growth, it had a separation of those minerals but it still kept growing. And instead of changing its shape, it just changed its color. And it's condensed down all of that clear white material, that basic quartz, and concentrated it into a singular layer before it carried on and reincorporated those minerals in. Does it really change much about the quartz itself or the amethyst? Not really. Does it make it look cool? Yes. But sometimes it's more than just looking cool or feeling nice or looking pretty. Like, there's depth to everything as long as we're willing to see it. And also, amethyst, because of its clarity, will get lots of cool inclusions and all that make it stand out a lot more than if it was in something dark like a smoky quartz or clear like a normal quartz. So that little bit of color allows you to actually peer through and see the uniqueness in everything. And there's not a damn thing wrong with any of that, because it makes each and every one of these stones unique and interesting. Boop. 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 I wonder, can I set you in here? That'll allow us to, no. Do all this. Get these guys set where they need to be. And since I've been doing this, I've decided to never question when anything decides to become involved. And these snail shells decided they wished to be involved. And they're actually great at kind of teaching us these lessons of both perseverance, calmness, and kind of creativity, because all snail shells grow in this same pattern, this lovely spiral that we all kind of know and love, that golden spiral, the golden ratio, that sense of just perfect flow. And that's because being so slow moving, snails just naturally adhere to that cycle and flow of life and nature. And they kind of help teach us to slow down and appreciate and let things take the natural flow as they're going to go. And with all of this change, these variations here, it's like you can have moments where, say you get Smokey Quartz and it's been irradiated, where that can happen like instantaneously, color change. But then over time, that color and that radiation seeps in deeper and deeper, giving it like these super dark black colors. And then go see the amethyst, that purple that took thousands or millions and millions and millions of years to form, that with a little bit of an inclusion or radiation can turn black and smoky. Or if you just give it a little heat, give it a little warmth, it turns yellow. It becomes irradiated. Yeah, excuse me. And then, yes, they were mentioned, and no, I did not forget. I said we cannot talk about reflection without moonstone, because it is the stone of the moon goddess. It is the reflections in the water, in the waves. It helps us to see things both as they are and as they could be. Those who aren't aware can get lost in its illusion. Those who are can transition it into a new direction. You can see what we're being told and not just getting lost in it. And even moonstone comes in its own variations and changes and shades. We have this grayish, peachish, yellowish color. We have the white and black with blue huge sheens and the rainbow. Then we have this darkness, this shadow that is the black. Now, last but not least, because it's like, oh, this looks pretty good, but there's still something missing. And that's another piece of that variation in that transition, which is this. This is a moonstone and sunstone conglomeration. Because we have all these names for things and we think, oh, they can only be this or only be that. When in reality, so many stones are combinations. They're amalgamations of these different minerals and things that crystallized or formed together. Big ones are a lot of the copper base, so your azurites, malachites, shadakites, chrysocolas, because they all form together. They create these different shades and hues based on other mineral inclusions and conditions. But in reality, they're like almost chemically the exact same thing with slight, very slight variations. These are all silicon dioxide. Except for the moonstone, of course. That one's got, it's like a potassium aluminum silicate. Yeah, potassium aluminum silicate with sodium, iron, and beryllium inclusions. But at the same time, it's a silicate. It's got silicon and oxygen and almost that same, well, this is, they have it in a 1-to-1 ratio instead of a 1-to-2 ratio, but still has those same base structural components, which is why it fits and it flows into this nicely. Don't mind my allergies. This time of year kicks my ass. That's how weather change gets me. Kind of used to it by now. Let's go and do some of this. Okay. The synergies are now kind of set now that we see what's kind of coming in. And like this is a good time to remind ourselves like we're not just doing one thing. There isn't just one purpose for us. There's so many purposes in life, so many options and decisions we can make. And we need a little bit of help from everything. You need that calmness, that clarity of mind, that opened up awareness to move and see what needs to be done. And then it's like you need the energy, that ambition, that fuel to push us, to make us do more, be more, achieve more, and actually have the ambition to do it and to enjoy it as we're doing it. And then to make sure that we're grounded the whole time, keeping our feet planted, making sure that there's nothing feeding off of us as we're moving this energy forward, as we're really achieving what we're trying to achieve, and keeping ourselves protected during all of this. taking all that in together and reflecting on those similarities and differences, knowing when something is purely done by impulse or that time of just serenity and peace and like that balanced in the ground, and taking that time to unify all of that together instead of just focusing in one direction or another, take it all into place. That's why we're going to be sending out right now. We're sending that energy out. We're getting rid of all that excess, like too much high vibes, too much groundedness, too much ambition, too much like not even passion, like too much creativity that you don't know what to do with it, too grounded that you can't move, too up in the clouds so you don't even know where you're walking, so you trip over your own 2 feet. So we're going to be taking and changing all of that, utilizing, becoming aware of it, understanding it. The longer I sit here, the more I have to do. So with all of this, and I come to say welcome to this lunar cycle. Embrace this change and transition. Notice the flow that you go through and where you're transitioning from one side to the other, or coming in and bringing it all together. And with that being said, let's seal that deal. And spin it all together. As you could kind of see that, because this is all very much the same thing, it flows very quickly together, very smoothly. There is no alteration in the flow. But it also doesn't mean it's moving quickly. It can, but we don't want it to. Let's see, can we get you to chill out, my friend? And lastly, a little smudge. remember to take care of yourselves and pay attention to everything as it's changing, it's moving, it's flowing. See what you're trying to do with it. What do you wish to make it become? Because after all, everything is you. You are the amethyst, you are the smoky quartz, you are the citrine, you are the quartz at the base of it all, that programmable master healer and spiritual being. And we all come with varying levels of inclusions and impurities. That doesn't make us any less human, any less of who we are. Just because something says impure doesn't mean it's bad. That bad is a connotation and association with religion, and we don't need that anymore. We just don't. So with that being said, I wish you all adieu and have a wonderful, safe, productive lunar cycle. Thank you.